Have you ever started a hobby or a sport but failed to keep it up? Have you ever gone back several times but each time you end up dropping out? Do you remember that person in your school who was not the most talented but actually still went on to succeed? What is it that makes one person successful in mastering something and another person a flop? Keep listening and you'll find out the keys to mastery and how you can master anything that you want. Hi, my name is Dr Aziz. I'm a psychology graduate of Cambridge University and also a medical doctor. In this video I'll be covering the classic book Mastery by George Leonard. It's a relatively short and concise read in just under 200 pages, but as always, don't worry, you don't have to read it because I've done the hard work for you and will be presenting all the key points in the next 7 minutes or so. We'll be discussing what and how mastery is achieved, why goals and prizes are overrated, and which rituals surgeons perform before every operation. True mastery is not just about reaching goals, it's just as much about internalizing a philosophy that will keep you learning even after you've reached your goal. In short, true mastery is a lifelong journey. But how do we achieve this? The first key is the mindset. Most of the time people take on something to impress others. For example, one may take up tennis, learn a few impressive shots, impress a couple of friends. Once your talent stares you in the face, the temptation is then to give up. So we need to rethink our motivations for learning a new skill. A true master develops his talents by pushing forward for the sake of it, rather than chasing praise and encouragement. To master anything, you must have respect for the process. If you want to master tennis or build a magnificent physique, you have to accept that it will take time, patience, perseverance, and practice. But don't be daunted. Once you shift your mindset, you can master anything. Remember, once you were a baby and you learned to crawl, walk, talk, and everything else that you can do today. In the modern age, we are constantly bombarded with the idea of quick fixes. Get fit in 2 weeks, hit the jackpot, as advertisers try and convince us that their products will allow us to master something instantly. Nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is, mastery is built on long periods of practice without tangible results. This leads to bursts of improvement and then again steady, deliberate practice. Once again, the journey towards mastery is not a steep incline, but rather a series of plateaus with spurts of progress. Learning to love these plateaus, putting the hard grind in, is essential to achieving mastery. When the author took up the martial art Aikido, he began to enjoy the ritual of classes and seemingly endless repetition of exercises. While his classmates dropped out, George Leonard stuck around and achieved his black belt. So why do so many of us find plateaus difficult? Well, typically because we are one of 3 personality types that struggle with mastery: dabblers, obsessives, and hackers. The dabbler starts a new hobby every couple of weeks with a lot of enthusiasm. They buy all the equipment, they tell all the friends. 2 weeks later, when the plateau hits them, they drop out. It just wasn't the right sport for me, they say. The obsessive is even worse. They are determined to master everything in one session, and needless to say, they also stumble very quickly, usually at the first plateau in the first session. Remember, the plateau represents the hard work, the practice, the grind, all the work that other people do not see. You see the celebrities and the sports stars on the sports field, watched by millions, but behind the success, there are thousands of hours of hard work and practice that they put in. Finally, a hacker. This is someone who is actually perfectly comfortable with plateaus, but they get too comfortable. They stay in the plateau. They're happy to play the same game of tennis every week with no motivation to improve. Anyway, if you fit into one of these 3 personality types, dabblers, obsessives, or hackers, don't worry. Recognizing a problem is the first step in solving, and you can still achieve mastery. Finding the right instructor or teacher is very important. Leonard tells us in the book, there are many forms of instructions, from online programs to video tutorials, but nothing matches real-life teaching, either one-to-one or in a group. But how do we know which instructor is worth sticking with? The best way is to observe the way a teacher interacts with his or her student. An instructor who is attentive, caring, and respects his students are all just as important factors as his talent is. Practice is vital for improvement and heading towards mastery, but not as we might think of it. Most of us think of practice as a verb of mindless repetition. Instead, realize and accept practice can also be a noun, a synonym for path or journey. Consider, why would a martial arts master continue training even after receiving his black belt? Because the path continues and the belt is just a milestone. George Leonard then tells us there are 3 key elements in working towards excellence: surrender, intentionality, and edge control. Surrender means submitting to your teacher and the demands of your discipline. This will mean sacrificing your pride at times. For example, your tennis coach or martial arts instructor may ask you to stand on one foot. You may complain and refuse, but in doing so you'll miss out on what this exercise teaches you: improved balance and discipline. Intentionality. This is the ability to visualize yourself succeeding, something that all top sporting professionals utilize. Picture yourself as a champion and one day you will get there. Edge control refers to edges. These are obstacles and challenges that for most people would lead them to giving up, but for you should represent a chance to excel and grow. We all fall at some point, however. That is the nature of life. There are 3 key steps to combating obstacle, edges, or hurdles. Number 1, surround yourself with good company, people who are also fighters and who have also made it through the same challenges that you are currently facing. They can offer you advice and tips on how to to push through based on their experience. Number 2, ensure you have the right approach. Find joy in the practice, even if you are not necessarily seeing any tangible progress at that moment in time. Number 3, finally, work hard to stay consistent in your practice and learning. Make routines more engaging by turning them into rituals that allow you to reflect. Many surgeons do this. They wash their hands in exactly the same way prior to every operation, allowing them to focus their minds on the task in hand. As a final point, the author advocates taking good care of your body. To succeed in most things in life, you need good health, weight training, regular cardiovascular exercise, a balanced diet. A few points from myself. Tying in intrinsically with mastery is discipline and consistency, and I would strongly advise The Power of Self-Discipline by Brian Tracy for this, which I've linked here on the right, an animated summary. Next point, just keep plugging away. In the martial art club that I train in, where they've produced multiple world champions, there is a big sign on the wall which says, "A champion is simply a beginner who never gave up." Always aim high and just keep moving forward. Never give up. You will succeed. Believe it, visualize it, say it, and you will. Anyway, I hope you learned something useful and enjoyed this summary. If you want to keep learning about psychology, medicine, or life hacks, hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button. Any suggestions or comments, feel free to post below. Until next time, stay safe.